Hello and welcome to the Armbands FPL season review of 24-25. Kieran, we made it to the end of the season.
Yeah, just about. Unfortunately, got a nice red arrow to start to the end of the season, but it's been overall a pretty fun season, I think.
Yeah. We'll talk about quite a few different things this evening. Just to recap, I'll go over our points, share the team of the person that won the Armband Mini League, have a discussion about players that surprised us this season, ones that disappointed us, quite a few of those. We're going to talk about chips. We're going to talk about changes to point scoring and maybe rules for next season we'd like to see, although we doubt it. And perhaps we could just talk about some player prices guesses for next season, which might be quite fun as well, just to end on. So let's jump into it and do the points recap. You already mentioned it's a red arrow, so yeah, talk us through what happened in game week 38.
So it was basically I hit the bench boost hoping for obviously a boost in the rankings, and it ended up with roughly 5 points on the bench boost. It's like I got a return from Vardy, which basically everyone owns, Captain Salah basically everyone owns, and then Embuemo, and then the whole white differential was nice points, but didn't get the clean sheet, which is ridiculous, I think. And just 5 points on the bench with Areola going missing. Just safe to say I don't think I'll be keeping the bench boost to game 38 again next season. So it was 42k down to 44k. I think I took a hit as well, so risky on the last game week, but overall I won the leagues I cared about too much, so another 50k or top 50k in the bank seems okay, I suppose. Top 10k is it just seems to be so hard to get now. So 50k is probably a decent rank overall, so I can't be too mad. But from where I was a few weeks ago, I was around about the 15k, and then I was around about 15k game week 10ish as well, and it petered out a little bit, I suppose. So just didn't get the right differential picks when I wanted, and but 62, fine, I guess.
No, it was nice. Well, you said about the swing, but you're right. But I remember maybe around the game week 29, game week 30, there was a point which you'd gone to over 100,000. So then to end up in 8 game weeks to get to 44, or even 15 before going back to 44 was still something. But it was a lot of yo-yoing at the end. What were the transfers for the final day? Again, you were talking about how frustrated you were with Bowen again.
So I transferred out. Heard the leaks for KDB not starting, so I thought I was between Diaz and Bowen, and of course I went with Diaz, and I talked about Bowen for weeks, and I was just like, surely it's gonna be loads of goals in that Palace Liverpool game with both teams celebrating, and going for it, because why not? And so I thought Diaz is one last differential, and terrible, obviously. And then White came in for O'Shea because he was obviously playing West Ham, which I thought was not a great fixture on the bench boost. So it turned out that was obviously a good move, but the rest of it not so good. So if I just got Bowen, I think it would have been a good week, and I probably would have ended up around 30-ish k. Would have been nice, but it is what it is, I guess.
Jammer is in the chat, and he said, despite your last game weeks, congratulations on a good season. And I think comparatively speaking, of have a look at some other content creators, it's for multiple people, we're not doing too bad, and I wouldn't say we're as invested. We're just trying hard. But you're right, I think 10k is just so difficult if you don't get a good start. Like I was saying to you on Sunday when the games wrapped up, I was kind of affected, I think, definitely by the really poor start to the season, that reliance on Haaland, no Liverpool, which in hindsight now obviously looks stupid, but at the time we just didn't know they were going to go on to win the league. And I think when I was down at, I think it was 3.9 million, was one of the worst heading into game week 10. So I'm super pleased that I've got back to a 59k in the end. But I think you've got to have a really solid start to have any chance of getting top 10 or top 5k, and I think we'll talk about it a little bit. And I don't really know what the recipe to have a good start is. Surely that's somewhat luck. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's like, spaff a chip early, get ahead,
maybe
and then just
manage it.
try and just like follow like what other people are doing, stay ahead of the curve, and then you go from there. I guess like maybe that is the way. Like that seems to have been the way, like most other seasons, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to talk through. Oh, so just on my team then. So I ended on 57. Like you, I got White for the Agdaboot from Wolves. But otherwise, I didn't make any other transfers. Saka was the real letdown. I was waiting for leaks from 2. And yeah, we didn't think we'd get any reliable Arsenal ones. And obviously really frustrating that we didn't, because I played him. And he's, been one of my disappointments since playing the wild card. He had 1 goal involvement, I think, since game week 30, and to not even start against Southampton when I could have really used some differential points. Like if I knew, well, we talked about it on the show, if I knew he was going to be out, Bowen, Eze or Diaz would have been in there, and the same for Isak, and obviously both of those blank. But anyway, 57 points, small red arrow, a bit like you. I thought the last day was a bit underwhelming. Like if you didn't have Bowen or didn't have Semenyo or Hinselwood, you basically just like didn't really have much going for you. Most people captain Salah.
Yeah. There wasn't the big thrashings we expected, and some upsetting results, or upsets. But yeah, other than that, not so many goals.
And the bench boost, similar to you, really. Like I was always going to start Burn and Milenkovic anyway, and then what? I mean, it doesn't make too much difference. I suppose to the bench boost, it would have been 4 or 5 anyway. But Areola was irritating after Potter said he was going to put out a team to win. Yeah. Double defensive of Arsenal has just been an absolute catastrophe since game week 30 as well. So yeah, we'll talk about all that fun stuff. But we're probably both sound quite downbeat, probably because we thought it was going to be, I don't know, a better season than it was, and it was just limped to a bit of a finish.
Yeah, just like game week 38 is usually loads of goals and things, and then you're on a bench boost. You've got loads of good attackers and good games, and it's just you're expecting a boost, I suppose. And just the last week for us has just both been pretty underwhelming. Like just even though we've played a chip and expecting something to go well, it just hasn't. And it's just, I don't know, I guess that's FPL for you. It's just proper luck, I guess. And just like the usual thing of just loads of goals just didn't happen.
No.
Yeah.
Ugh. Right. Well, let's get on to talk about some more cheery things. Oh man, actually, just very briefly, a little bit on Aston Villa and Rodgers, because I didn't obviously catch up until the end of the day when they had that goal disallowed, the whistle blown, and now they've missed out on Champions League. And that was probably like another failing, which I put in my notes a little bit, so it's probably just fair to talk about it now. But I think probably like the disappointment for me was that on the last day, the teams with the teams with something to play for in Newcastle, Aston Villa, and even Forest to an extent, and Chelsea were there, obviously the winners, but didn't even show up on the final day of the season. The relegation battle was a non-event since like game week 34, and the title has been pretty much a non-event since game week 32. So it just seemed like the lack of motivation even for those teams just filtered out, and then so that meant on the final day it was like nothing to get, I don't know, really excited about. It just it was just a bit of a shame. And obviously Aston Villa no more so than that, because I would have been quite happy with Rodgers on the bench boost getting given a goal, and maybe Villa somehow scrapping on for some points there. But anyway, all right, just going to share the Armband Mini League, which we'll promote more in the lead up to next season. But it's just congratulations to Paul Shapland, El Chapo, who won this year's Armband Mini League. 79 points he got in the final round. No bench boost or chip played. He had Semenyo, he had Bowen, he had Kirkes. Those were his main point returners. He benched Ruben as well in his 7 points. So nice. He had a really good end to the season. Game week rank of 154k with no chips played is pretty epic. And he finished 225th in the world. So huge season. And if you look at his game week history, it just kept going up. The last 4, last 8 game weeks, he had 7 green arrows. He went from nearly 3k to finishing 225, which as a percentage change is huge. So congratulations to him. That was a cracking season. But what I liked, or what I noticed about it when I was talking about looking at my own season, by game week 7 he was already 309k. and he was in the top 30, let's say 36k at game week 12, and he never went further out than that. So yeah, I really want to have a look at having a good start. The last 2 or 3 seasons, I've just faffed the start so badly, and then you just feel like you're playing catch up. So maybe your idea about a chip early start of the season might not be a bad idea.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's start talking about some of the surprises of the season. I think. Do you want to lead the way with some picks that have either passed us by or have done a lot better than we expected?
Yeah. So I'll start with Chris Wood, I guess. Yeah, he's a player that I didn't own all season. I didn't own a single Forest player at all season, despite them being in like the top 3 basically all year. And I obviously highly underestimated them, and Wood and Aina and Sells and Milenkovic and just everyone on that team. Basically, I just didn't. I don't know. I guess I just thought they're not going to keep this up, and they did. So obviously they didn't in the last week, but unfortunate for them. But yeah, started at 6 million Wood, went up to 7.2 million, so 1.2 million rise. And I don't think anyone would have expected Chris Wood as the second highest scoring forward in the game on the bingo card for this season, that's for sure. So he hit exactly 200 points, 20 goals, 3 assists, and 41 bonus. Highest points he's managed before this season were 138, and his highest goal tally before was 14. So that's a huge jump in his returns at Forest. Focal point. So he's obviously had a great season. He outscored the likes of Watkins, Haaland, Solanke, Havertz, like all the sort of usual expected ones to be up there. Yeah, smashed them all really, other than Watkins and Haaland. Game week 19 to 26 was his biggest sort of return period. He scored 74 points with 11 returns. Just like I said, wasn't expecting him to be so good. He's had a history of doing sort of double digit goals, but like to get 20 and be on the penalties for Forest, which I thought Gibbs White might be. So just a hell of a season. Will he repeat that next year? He's going to get a price rise. Let's imagine he'll probably get to like 8 million, 8.5.
Yeah, maybe.
And I think at that point he's probably going to be a bit too much. Pricey, but if he does repeat it, then it's like kind of like with Watkins the year before, he did do pretty well again the next year and did sort of prove his price point. So we'll see, I suppose. But didn't expect him to do so well, and one that absolutely passed me by.
Absolutely, it's a huge challenge next season for Forest with the Europa League, and I think that's something we'll obviously have to consider as the season starts. But
for sure,
first season back in Europe for God knows how many years, they're going to have to deal with that Thursday-Sunday rotation. So I think there's some teams that might. I think remember Newcastle as well had a bit of a dip on their Champions League season the season before last. So and even Aston Villa this season. So thinking about how some teams navigate Europe is definitely worth our thoughts. But you're right. I experienced Wood for quite a few game weeks last season, and he was really good. But he ended really, really poorly, which was a shame. I think he had 2 goals in his last 11 games, which it was. Which
I thought is the kind of mean and the average of what you'd expect with Wood.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was due in part to Forest as well. Like, they were so close to Champions League qualification. They dropping points against Leicester at home and Everton at home, and like 2 of their last sort of 4 fixtures is just like a real kick in the teeth because they needed a point more to qualify for Champions League. So they'll be gutted about that. And then just to stay with Forest, I think you've got to shout out generally the Forest defence of being as good as it was. 13 clean sheets for the season was the most after Arsenal, City and Liverpool. And I think considering they finished 1 point above the relegation zone or relegation places last season, it just shows what an amazing turnaround they've had to qualify for Europa League. I think all of their defenders deserve a shout out. I mean, Sells was the, if you bunch goalkeepers into defenders, Sells was the highest scoring. But I just want to shout out Milenkovic because he was such a beast for me. I had him at the game week 6 wild card. He went from 4.5 million he started out and he ended on 5.2, still less than 20% owned. Definitely like the best differential pick throughout the season for me because it felt like his ownership was never high. I played him for 4 of his 5 goals. He had a really great amount of attacking returns, 7. And I think for his first full season in the Premier League, to get those amount of returns and be a part of that defence, I think it's quite rare. So yeah, absolutely a surprise. And game week 13 to 20 was just so fun owning him. So he had a 6 and then he had a 0 away against Man City, but then it followed that up with a 7, 9, 6, 6, 6, 6. So I'm pretty much played him for all of that run. Remember, it was over like December and New Year time, and he was a beast. So yeah, I think it'll be difficult next season to go there again, because I think there will be some more drop off with Europa League and how they manage
We'll
that.
get a price increase. 5.5 million?
Yeah, maybe 5.5 or 5. Yeah, and that price I think he's probably sadly not going to be worth. But yeah, it was a fun ride while we had it, and
He was highly touted at like Fiorentina for years, and like United were linked with him, and I was just thinking like, why not just go get him? And like he's been so good for them. He's just what you kind of, that's sort of like the Vidic type of just being an absolute beast.
Yeah,
and just you're just like, he's always going to be there strong, and it's like maybe not so great at the ball, but he's got goal threat on corners, and he's absolutely proved it, and just. Yeah, great signing, cheap as well for them to get him in the defense, and he's going to be there for years to come. And hopefully we'll see him not go. Maybe 5 mil would be nice if they're being generous for the Europa League rotation. But maybe he's going to be priced out next year. But maybe they'll make some changes and make centre backs easier to pick, and so who knows.
True. And he was a minutes monster as well. Like if he'd played game week 1, which I think is what he didn't sign until late or something like that, he would have played every minute of the season, which is what you want from your
fair play
centre back as well.
100%.
All right, have you got any others that you thought were surprises?
I guess I'll mention Salah, because I mean, obviously he was expected to do well, but no one expected him to do that well, I don't think. So he started at 12.5 million, went up to 13.6, so 1.1 million plus just a point 0.1 less than Wood's price rises over the season. But 344 points is the highest FPL score of all time. 29 goals, 18 assists. Gaming 1 to 20, he blanked twice, which is 18 games with returns, and then he had 30 returns in that period.
It's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, he had 18 double-digit returns across the season, which is, again, I don't think anyone's ever done that high before. 55 bonus points. The change to this season, I think, helped him in the bonus department, because, like, in years past, he was kind of getting goals and things, or an assist and something. He'd be nowhere near bonus still. But this year's certainly helped, or something's changed for him to start getting bonus. The start of the season was no Salah versus no Haaland, wasn't it? And it was pretty much neck and neck, to be honest. So. The first 5 weeks, Haaland went 7, 17, 17, 13, and 9, which was 63 points. And then Salah got 14, 10, 17, 2, and 6, so which is 49 points. So Salah did drop off the second or the last two.
Yeah.
But Salah was winning kind of ish from the first week and then the second week. And then Haaland's back-to-back hat-tricks, which I was the Salah side and not the Haaland side, but the Haaland back-to-back hat-tricks certainly hurt me. And I was taking a pounding at the start of the season with not going there. I don't think we'll ever see 344 FPL points beaten, to be honest. And I don't think we'll probably ever see the 350 point mark ever breached. So I think 344 is going to take some beating, because Salah has had the highest goal involvement, returns, goals, and assists for a Premier League player ever this season. So like, who's going to beat that? Like, I can't see it happening for a long time. Like Salah. We expected him to kind of drop off a little bit this year, didn't we? So I didn't think he'd be this good. And maybe he could do it again next year, but the drop off is going to come soon or eventually, and I don't expect he'll be as good next year. So, do you want to like try and guess a price for him now? Next year?
Well, so I'm thinking of his price in relation to Haaland, because I mean Haaland is still going to be these two are going to be the top tier premiums.
Of course.
So Salah's ended closer to 14 million. So he's 13.6, and Haaland's ended at 14.9. But that's probably because not many people had him to get rid of him. So I would probably guess that Salah's going to start at 14, and Haaland would be 13.5.
I feel like they'll both start 14 to be honest.
Maybe?
Yeah. Then it's the no Salah versus no Haaland will be back up and running again, wouldn't it? So. But
I think it's probably. I mean, obviously it depends on fixtures and form, but I still think that even even now it would be easier to pick Salah for that because Man City's form this season in general, like the season before, it kind of made sense because we're going into the unknown. But there's no manager change. Man City's squad is probably going to be weaker a little bit with Kevin De Bruyne. Liverpool's maybe is going to be stronger if Wirtz comes. So I think if game week 1 was tomorrow, I'd feel much more confident having Salah in my team at 14 mil than Haaland at 14 mil.
Yeah, and I think both those prices make sense. Salah would go up by 1.5, and Haaland would go down by 1.
Yeah,
I think that seems fair. I think 2 million plus for Salah seems a bit much. So, let's just see. I suppose I think you're right. Salah next year, but maybe like Wirtz going would sort of spread the points in that team a bit more. So I guess we'll see. I think but Salah should still be on penalties and that sort of thing.
The difficulty they've got is just because of the extra points that Salah can get as a midfielder, and I just think that will make a big difference in why he would be more popular than Haaland at that price.
Yep.
Is it
Yep, agree with that.
He said in the chat, "Are you covering the Club World Cup?" I don't.
Might play it, but probably not.
I think so. We'll probably be posting about it, on X and Blue Sky, but probably not. I didn't realise that how many teams had been in that. I wasn't like fully across it, just been focused on FPL, but 32 teams. It's quite a big deal. If Man City and Chelsea play or take their first teams, which perhaps they will, then I'll be pretty invested in it because
I think they're going to want to win it, to be honest, because there is good teams.
Yeah,
PSG are there as well, I think.
That's right. Yeah, Inter I think are there. I think it's Is it Barca as well?
I can't remember which one of the Spanish.
Yeah. When does Club World Cup start? But I'm interested in it if I get swept up in it because we play Champions League fantasy as well, and
we could do some shorts on it maybe.
Yeah. Sorry, we got a bit distracted. That's the beauty of doing the live stream. It starts on the 14th of June, so we might do that. Might be fun. All right. A lot of money at no Barca. Okay. Cool. Right. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, another surprise player. So I think definitely one to mention. I talked about him a little bit. Is Rodgers. So he didn't finish like right the way up in midfielders, but the reason I think it's worth mentioning him going from 5 million to 5.8 is because last season he had just 600 minutes. So let me just caveat this by saying that the players that finished in front of him in terms of overall points across the season for midfielders are ones we sort of already knew about. Like Semenyo had already been playing pretty well, and then the others last season, and Fernandes, Diaz, Bowen, Palmer, we know about those. But Rodgers, from playing 600 minutes last season and getting 4 attacking returns in that time, to then being an absolute minutes monster, playing 3,100 minutes, considering they had their Champions League run to the quarterfinals and they had their FA Cup run to the semi-final, was pretty much playing 80 to 90 minutes most league games. So reliable. I think he missed 1 game all season, maybe. Oh no, maybe he didn't even miss any. He's played like a couple of 50s and 60s. So to play that many times and rack up nearly 20 FPL returns, so he had 19, 8 goals and 11 assists. That's the 13th highest ratio for all mids, and he played the 8th amount of minutes. So he was just a beast. I think a surprise for sure, because at the start of the season he was like, he could be your 5th midfielder. But I don't think anyone expected him to be such a reliable player from both output and minutes point of view. He was great. So I think it's just worth shouting him up. I think his price is going to go up to he finished at 5.8, so maybe 6.5 next season, something like that.
Do you not think it'd be higher than that?
Maybe 7.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if his output is high enough to warrant a 7, but yeah, 6.5. I just think I don't know if you agree, but he was just a great pick at a good price.
Yeah, I think a lot of people sort of faded him just because they needed that 0.5, and they went for like people like Winks and all those 4.5s that just did nothing. So if you could get him in your team, then he was great, and he was in mine pretty much most of the season, to be honest, up until I think the 30-ish wildcard, whatever it was. Yeah, but I probably should have had him on that because he did really well in those subsequent game weeks where he was getting points. But yeah, he was just one of those ones that just allowed, if you did have him as your fourth midfielder, just allowed him to sort of make the squad better all round, and allowed you to like have more expensive sort of Vardiols and Slivers and Gabriels and whatever in defense and Trents, and you could get a stacked front line with having Rodgers, and he helped a lot, and it's those sort of guys that are gonna help like our teams from next year. Like if I don't know who is going to be there next year, if there is even going to be one like him. To be honest, there probably won't, but he's been certainly a gem this year. Probably going to have his ownership quite a lot lower next season.
It's just a price buster, wasn't it? 5 million. You're right. I think we had no history of him being a good pick apart from like looking quite good in pre-season. But if you'd started with him and used him as your fourth midfielder in say like a Haaland and Salah draft, you probably wouldn't have been laughing at the start of the season because he turned into a really good pick that you could either play or rotate for another cheap midfielder. So I think he was good, and I definitely didn't own him for long enough. Yansio in chat thinks they were going to price him at 7 million. Yeah, that'd be at 1.2 million. Maybe they would. I kind of think they go that they round up and then add another 0.5 maybe on most players. All right, should we talk about
fair enough.
Disappointments, or have you got any other like surprises? Bowen was a surprise, an annoying one.
I mean, I guess he was like the end of the season. He was surprised. So the rest of it, he was a bit of a disappointment. But I guess we'll go on to disappointments. I've not written this down, but Haaland, I guess, was a disappointment because of how he was injured, and then he just had that run of just terrible form where just Salah was just returning every week, and Haaland was blanking every week, and it was quite something for a while, at least like 6 game weeks or so. I feel like, and where Salah was getting multiple double digits and he was getting like 2s and something against like bad teams. That was what helped me a lot at that point, because I'd obviously gone no Salah, and seeing the Haaland blanks at that point after he was destroying me big time beforehand.
No, then he just went off a cliff, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. So, and then he obviously got injured as well, and so that's just a big disappointment from this year. I'd say like him finishing, what was it, like nearly like 4th or 5th of the forwards? Crazy, to be honest. Not even getting 200 points, beaten by Wood, beaten by Watkins. I think, was he above Wisser? I'm not sure.
No, I don't think he was.
No, so that just says a lot there, doesn't it? So he was just, even when he came back, he just didn't really look like he was that involved either. And there seems to be what they were doing like the years before, they were just looking for him at every opportunity, and now they're just, I don't know, they're just kind of playing around
him. I agree.
Around the box and around him, and just not looking for him as much as they used to. So let's see what happens next year, but I'll probably be on the no Haaland train again. So I didn't own him all season.
That's
amazingly. So I stuck to game week 1. I was just like, I'm going Salah, I'm going to go no Haaland, and we'll see what happens come wild card. And then I just stuck to no Haaland all season, and it paid off, I guess.
I
suppose it did. But disappointments. Foden, another one of that City team. Foden, like 9.5 million started and went down to 9.1 million, so minus 0.4 on that. Player of the season in 2023 to what? Like a total failure this year. Was he even injured that much, or was he just completely out of favor? Yeah, nor do I. Like, nobody really knows what happened there. So he did flash in some games, but compared to like the year before and his subsequent, obviously, massive price rise from where he was before, he's dramatically underdelivered. 11 goals, 7 assists in 22-23, 19 goals, 8 assists in 23-24, where he was player of the season. And then this year, 7 goals, 3 assists. Absolute huge drop off. Played a total of 89 minutes in the last 7 weeks, when, as far as I know, he was fit. 1,771 minutes versus 2,860 in the previous year. So maybe it's a Pep thing. Has he just fallen out of love with Foden this year? Not really sure. do we expect a comeback year in next year with Foden?
Maybe with De Bruyne
Maybe,
leaving.
yeah, maybe. But if they're not going for Verts now, then he probably should be the number 1 player who's going to be looking to create chances and things. And so, yeah, we could see it, but he should have been that player this year, really. So,
I just
100.
don't understand what happened. Like came back from the start of the season was all that he came back from the Euros late and he played 45 minutes against Chelsea, but then didn't play again for 3 game weeks, like not in the squad. But there was never you're right, never any big announcement from Pep saying Foden's injured, he's out of the team. So I don't know if it was any personal issue, but he's just been a total non-entity.
100%. Yeah, 105 points this year versus 230 points last year. Just absolute massive, huge drop off. And I've enjoyed owning Foden over last year and some big hauls. He had 2 games this year where he got 2 back-to-back double digits, but then other than that, not a lot, to be honest. So just a shame, really. He was so good last year, and it would have been nice to have him as a secondary option. But now I guess we've got Marmoush in City, so I guess win some, lose some, come and go. Sort of Alvarez going last year, now we got Marmoush, and so we'll see.
I think
huge disappointment.
Yeah, I think perhaps it's maybe in part due to how City play. I don't think Doku and Savinho are good enough wide players to service Haaland, which is probably why he had that run. And then I don't know why Foden was just not used as he was as almost the second striker this season. When you look at the point spread across the top Man City midfielders, Foden had 105 and De Bruyne was, 114. And I appreciate they all played different minutes, but that's the sort of thing that used to happen with the City defenders, where they would just get rotated and spread around. Whereas this season, Pep's done it with the midfielders, and none of them, or none of the City have been talismans effectively this season.
Yep, and just Grealish, 38 points all season. Bloody hell! What has happened to him as well? Crazy.
I know. Yeah, really poor season from City in the first part of it, and how they sort of clawed it back and found all their form at the end of the season. Gvardiol's ended the highest scoring defender, and all the clean sheets they kept to wrap up the season. I think it was quite a surprise, but they've just boosted their end of season statistics by just going on this insane run. But for next season, I'm not really sure on City just yet.
Yeah.
Disappointments. So my one, which is probably a bit funny, but it's definitely first half of the season, Eze, because he's just
so many people started with him as well.
Yeah, me included. So
did you? Okay,
yeah. So at the end of 23-24, he just returned a lot. So game weeks 30 to 38 last season, he had 5 goals and 3 assists. So all the summer, the hype was that Eze's going to be that third midfielder's pick. He's going to be the sort of mid-priced midfield pick that's actually going to be a premium by game week 6, and everyone's going to have him.
Yeah.
So the hype was great, but in game weeks 1 to 29 this season, he only managed 2 goals and 6 assists. So the same amount of returns as he had in game weeks 30 to 38 the previous season. Then something happened around between game week 29 and game week 30 when he just, as well, end of the season, he just upped his levels when he scored in the FA Cup run. Obviously, he scored against Fulham in the quarterfinal. Scored in the final, obviously, to win the FA Cup. And then in the league, game weeks 30 to 38, he got 6 goals, so 4 more, and 2 assists, so 8 returns. So we got 8 returns in sort of 8 or 9 game weeks, the same that he'd managed in the rest of the season combined. So what he likes about playing in the summer, I don't know. But I expect now that going into the start of the new season, everyone is probably going to think Eze is, that guy again. But is he in Crystal Palace going to just start the season just absolutely woefully again?
I mean, is he even going to stay at Palace? Someone should go in for him, right?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, possibly.
But then again, they've got Europe now, so he's going to want to. Well, they're certainly going to want to keep him. So
I don't know where the money to get him out of Crystal Palace. If Man City wanted him, it would be the similar amount as they paid for Grealish, and maybe Palace have got no real reason to
sell.
How
much did they let Elise go for? Do you remember?
Oh, it's probably different because it was Germany.
Probably like 60, 50 mil, something like that. 50.
80. Yeah, 60 mil. Oh, 50.8. Okay. 50.8. So it's probably because it's just a European side. But
so they didn't really invest that back that much. No. They bought like Munoz, but that was last year still.
Mm-hmm.
So like, who did they buy? Nketiah?
Yeah, Nketiah. They got that defender Lacroix.
That Kamada guy as well. Yeah, Lacroix was good. Yeah, to be fair.
But they probably didn't shell out a lot on him. So they've probably got, and they were nearly selling Gay last summer, weren't they? Because Newcastle wanted him, and they put a big price tag. I kind of think they're going to want to keep hold of him. But over the course of the season, Sarr did actually outscore Eze by one point. I just think it.
What a troll!
Yeah, he just trolled us the last sort of 8 or so game weeks, and he trolled me at the start of the season as well by thinking he was going to be a good pick, and I held him for quite a long time before I played the wild card. And yeah, he and Haaland were two of the people that just did nothing. He had 1 return in the first 8 game weeks. Yeah, he was a bit savage. So anyway, so I kind of think first half of the season is a disappointment considering how well he ended it. And like, fair play if you were on him at the end, but yeah, owning him at that beginning period was really tough.
Yeah, we really should have just on that wildcard should have seen that Mateta injury and thought, let's be wary of that and just go Sarr plus Eze on the wildcard, and that would just been probably would have both ended up like 30-ish K as well or something. So like, and just stopping avoiding Bowen for God's sake.
I think that probably like leads a little bit into assistant, maybe we'll talk about actually after the players, but the assistant manager chip as well. I think we'll come on to that in a minute actually. Have you got any more player disappointments?
It's probably a little bit of a boring one, but Nkunku, like, oh my god, he did 6.5 million. He started the game and ended at 5.7 million, 0.8 decrease.
It is 60.
So I've got down it as the girls from this year's epic UK Eurovision Song Contest representatives would say, what the hell just happened? That was the main line of their chorus. And Nkunku for 2 seasons is what the hell just happened.
I don't know.
3 goals, 2 assists this year, 3 goals the season before, 2 injury-stricken seasons, which to me has seen his career fall off a cliff, basically. He's barely managed 1,500 minutes in 2 years. He was one of those sort of preseason fit again hype trains. And it basically derailed as early as game week 1 with a 57-minute sub and 2 under 10-minute cameos in the following weeks. I glad I didn't fall into trap because I was on him. I'm a big fan of Nkunku. I thought he was a great player, and the injuries have absolutely ruined his career. It seems like who knows if he's actually going to stay at Chelsea, but maybe next year he can pick something up. But he did pick up a little momentum in game week 25 to 29, where he started 5 games in a row, unbelievably. Got 1 goal and 1 assist in 1 game versus Saints, and that's it. Just a huge. Everyone thought he was going to be that sort of like what Rodgers was, I guess, that cheap gem that just allowed us to get a lot more in the team, and just he would be in a good Chelsea team, playing kind of like 10/up front/ whatever, and getting all the goals and all the assists, and because he's such a good player, and it just absolutely just did not happen, and that was a huge disappointment for me. Shame.
He had 5 returns this season, and 4 of them were against Southampton.
Amazing.
I agree. He was just woeful, really, really poor. And in the vein of talking about what players' prices are going to be next season, I'd be surprised if he was still at Chelsea, and if he is, he's going to be like 5.5 or 5 million again.
And the same thing will happen pre-season. He'll be fit and he'll start scoring loads of goals, and it'll be the fit again pre-season hype.
We didn't talk about just Foden's guesstimated price. So he was 9 million. Was he 9 million or 9.5?
9.5 he started.
And he went down to 9.1. Don't know, 8.5 maybe.
I think they'll be wary of dropping him too much, won't they? An 8.5 seems probably right. Okay. Like a million drop.
So funnily enough, Jans. I think it's Yasino. Yasino. I'm going to go with in our chat.
Casino, yeah.
Yasino. He said, "What do we think about Reece James and Cucurella?" So perhaps we'll come on to that in a minute. But what do I think about Palmer? So actually, I had Palmer down in my maybe disappointments pile for this season. So even though he got 214 points, which was huge, third highest scoring player I think in the game this season, and that's only.
I'm just thinking how.
Yeah,
How'd
I
that
know,
happen?
and exactly, and only 30 points difference to his mega 222 last season.
Yeah.
But I think I've had to list him as a disappointment because of the second half of the season. Like, he was the talisman for Poch last year, and that's perhaps why he got all the returns he did. He got 35 combined goals and assists. This year he's got 25. But if you look at his returns first half of the season, game weeks 1 to 18, he had 19 returns. I mean, there were some mega hauls in here. There was that huge Wolves game. There was the huge 4 goals in one half against Brighton. There was a big 10-pointer, 14. There was lots of double digits. But from game week 19 to 38, he had 6 returns. So he had a third of the returns, or even less than a third of the returns in the second half of the season. And I can't really explain why. Like, he was getting great minutes, so you can see here in this column, he basically played, what was that, like 8 or 9 90 minutes in the last 10 game weeks, but his returns just totally dried up. Reska probably doesn't like suit his style of play. Like, I think it's more controlled and less talisman moments. But
just stop playing him off the right. Stop it.
Yeah,
stop it.
I know, he just doesn't get involved. So
yeah.
I think Palmer's price for next season is going to be super interesting, because if you're basing it off the season as a whole and the total points, like remaining at 10.5 or maybe even 11 makes sense. But I'm going into next season a huge trepidation that they're going to be in Europe again, or going to be in Champions League again, and there's probably going to be slightly more rotation to preserve him. And also, if he's going to be continuing playing off the right, I just don't think he's effective. So I think he'll be overpriced.
I think they'll keep. I think they'll go 10.5 million again. To be honest,
do you think?
Yeah, maybe 11. I don't think 10. I don't know.
I don't think.
Yeah,
10.
we do need to see what it's going to be like with their rotation with Champions League, because the first team, unlike this year, is going to play Champions League.
Yes. Yeah.
So, the first team this year didn't have to play. Well, barely had to play the finals and the Thursday nights. So, depends what their fixtures are like. Depends what his prices are like. Then I guess we'll see. But I think he might stay the same.
Yeah. He's not going to drop. He's either going to stay the same or go up to 11 for the just total points. But yeah, I'm not sure I'll be there game week 1. Actually, on disappointments, just very briefly, someone excuse me, is in the same bracket before we do another one. Just maybe think about Saka. I think even when he's played this season, what a poor season he's had. Like, he ended the season really woefully, like we talked about, with just the lack of minutes being managed around PSG. But he played 3 of the last 4 game weeks from the start, and his XG in those games against Newcastle, Liverpool and Bournemouth are 0.06, 0.3 and 0.4. So he was woeful. And even in the games before he got injured, he was a bit out of form as well. So, and there was, I think, 4 games before he got injured: Everton, Fulham and Man United, which on paper all good fixtures. He had an XG of 0.1, 0.0 and 0.3. I think he's been super underwhelming. 6 goals.
I've just looked. 4 double-digit returns across the whole season compared to Salah got 18.
Yeah. Even in Mbeumo got more, a lot more than he did. Because I was looking at, is Saka a differential captaincy for the last game week? And oh my god, I'm so glad I didn't do it because of the.
I saw quite a lot of people do that actually. They there was no leaks, and saw people transfer obviously KDB out that didn't get much and bring Saka in to captain him.
Yeah. But just that he's had just such a poor season by his own previous standards, and he's been injured, but he has played quite a lot since they've come back, and he's just not been good. I don't think he's the same kind of talisman that Palmer and Salah are. I think he's too, which is fine, but he's too nice. He's like more assister than a goal scorer.
Yeah, a bit of a traditional winger in the sense than he is like getting goals, I guess.
Yeah. So I'm not so. I just thought it was worth mentioning him because I experienced owning him. So he's 10.4. So he and Palmer sort of ended roughly the same price. I imagine they'll probably price him at the same last season.
Yeah, I feel like. What did Saka's start? Was it 10.5 as well?
I guess it was 10.5.
Yeah. I imagine that'll stay the same.
He started at 10. He started at 10.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that staying 10 or 10.5. Yeah.
All right. Have you got any more disappointments?
Yeah, just quickly. Cash and Matson at at Villa. So yeah, Cash 2K minutes. Starting right back for one of the top 6 clubs. 1 goal, 1 assist all season. Terrible. Obviously a really good price for him at the start of 4.5. His attacking returns have been non-existent. Points across the previous season, his XG sort of rivaled some of the like top mids at the time, and he was like his attacking sort of stats were like so good that it was just like he was an absolute, you had to have him. And just this year he's been basically terrible. A massive drop off, huge disappointment. And then Matson, from being the starting left back in the Champions League final to being behind Digne in the pecking order, basically not playing all season. Yeah, I'm completely shocked he didn't ever cement his place ahead of him. 1 goal, 2 assists for him, and in just over 1K minutes, which actually beats Cash's returns. But just a proper disappointment, and looked so exciting as a pick because I kind of kept money in the bank to get him. I think from like game week 3 or 4 onwards, and I was just like really excited to get him in because I was just like, oh yeah, Matson's gonna get his place cemented in the team. I'll get him from then, and just never happened. And just big shame. Did he go there permanently? I think he did, right? I would love to see Digne just F off and Matson can be the starting left back, and everyone will be happy with that for sure. Because he's great.
No, I think at Villa definitely one of the finished being one of the top teams. But if you look at their defense and how paltry it was for points, Konsa 103, 89, 76. Nothing really there that's exciting. And you couldn't trust them that many times this season for a clean sheet, especially at the start of the season. All right, should we talk about chips a little bit?
Of course, yes. Let's go for it.
So I think probably worth starting with assistant manager because that's the newest one. It was a bit strange that we got it as like the mystery chip in the middle of the season and there was no sort of clue as to what it was. I think it was okay. I think if we were going to keep, like, I wouldn't mind keeping it full time because I think it's a bit different, but I think it should just be tweaked so it would be only active for 1 game week, because then it kind of gives it a similar level of power as the triple captain or bench boost and maybe free hit as well, because I think it would just add more variety to double game weeks, and that effectively you then have another choice. You're either going to play bench boost, triple captain, or assistant manager chip in a game week, and I think managing that would be more exciting than just having it for three game weeks, because I think the fact that you had to use a transfer and then allocate budget to it just had too much of a long-term negative effect on your team. Like, even though we didn't spend a lot of money on this is just personal for us, but I'm sure a lot of people would have spent 1.5 million on Slot or 0.8 on Moyes. I don't think many people bought a 0.5 manager this season, but that's quite a lot out of your budget. And when you're transferring managers around, by the time you've finished with the chip, then reinvesting that money back into your squad is really difficult, which is why when it got to game week 37 or 38, a lot of people had money in the bank to make moves because it was still just a hangover from assistant manager. So it was good in that there was different strategies, I thought, because there was a lot of people that went for Moyes or Slot in game week 26, Emery 27, 31 to 33. There was obviously Howe, Glasner, Arteta or Pep, and then people waited for 36 to 38 and punted on a few. But it was good but not great would be my review of it. You were the same on?
So I think it was the most powerful chip in the game, without a doubt, right? Yeah, I've got down here that basically any chip that lasts multiple weeks has got an exponential chance of being more beneficial for the rank. So it allows for variance to even out over multiple weeks and can catapult positive variance to massive advantage. So yeah, it's just basically with like a triple captain and double or bench boost or whatever, like say you're playing it in 1 week, the odds of it going really well is pretty kind of low, I guess. And then you put assistant manager on or something for like 3 weeks. The odds of it going well is huge compared, because you can make the transfers, you can change it to someone for like a really good game. You've got 3 chances of really good points. So it's just like, triple captain, I guess, is the tripling of a points, but like that's still only 1 week, and it's just. And when you could play it over doubles as well, and it meant some people got like 5 games from like a manager, like in a double, and it's just that was just insane. And it was even more than that, wasn't it? Sometimes, because it was a double plus whatever else. It was just they need to sort of refine it some way to make it better. The Glasner versus Arteta sort of thing comes to mind, where the safe play equaled 0 points and the risky table bonus got 20, and then for us, when we tried to go for the risky play, we both went with Glasner and he got basically nothing, and they conceded like 11 goals in 2 games, which they basically hadn't done at all season, and we went for the crap one, and the safe play in Howe got something like 25-30 points in there. So it's too unforgiving, that chip as well, and like I don't know. I've said it's like it makes it better being over multiple weeks, but when it's when you go wrong with it, it's way too swingy and it's really unforgiving. So I mean, I guess that's also part of just chips in general, that there's risk to it, I suppose. But 1 week makes sense to me, because then you have the sort of choice of just like, if it's a double, do you play the assistant manager, do you play the triple captain, do you play the thing? So it's the choice and strategy of like which one to go for, which one's going to equal the more points in that week for your team. So I would like to see it sort of 1 week sounds good to me, or something like just a captaincy that just kind of changes to the highest player of your team week. That would be just like an easy one for them to do.
Yeah, that would be good. Jammer in the chat has said about assistant manager would be to remove it from being a chip and make it a regular feature. So every week, so no table bonus for the first few game weeks. I mean, I don't mind that. Perhaps not with the table bonus.
You always have a manager?
Yeah, you always have a manager. Might be quite good. And perhaps they just reduce it a little bit, like the points that the manager gets. Maybe it's maybe perhaps not table bonus all season, but if the manager but then I think most people are just going to pick slot or pick like a top tier manager. Yeah.
Because if the points stayed the same, you would absolutely do that, because he's always going to get the team that does the best. They're always going to be the ones that just gain the points every week. Yeah.
There's in F1 or Formula 1 Fantasy, which I play, they do have some good chips which I think are quite good. So they're smaller ones if they wanted to add more. So they've got a chip for no negative, which is if any player on your team gets negative points, it gets wiped out, which I think is probably not going to happen very often.
Useful. Yeah.
But they also have one where you have what would be, I don't know really how to describe it. It's like let's say the triple captain got modified. So when you use your triple captain chip, you choose one player to have triple captain, and then the other player is your normal captain. So you essentially have like 2 viable captains, which I always think is quite a good idea.
You get points for both, for sure.
You get points for one gets triple the amount, and one obviously gets obviously double. And then the other one, which I think would make a nice one, a little bit like what you said, you could play a chip whereby your team would automatically get the highest point scoring captain for that game week. Is that roughly what you said? Yeah,
basically. Yeah, you click that chip, and then whoever scores the most in your team gets the captaincy armband. Yeah,
no, I like that one as well. So otherwise I think there isn't too many ideas I've got for chips. It's just maybe they make the assistant manager work a bit differently.
Yeah, the problem with what I just said is just like it's basically you can't really fail almost
Yeah, that's
with it
true.
unless your whole team blanks. It takes the sort of risk out of it, doesn't it? Because you'll probably get at least one return in a week, and then there's just almost no way you can go wrong with it. So there's no risk in the chip.
No, I see what you mean. But I suppose you could play at any point of the season, though.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be the skill to it. But yeah, I know what you mean. It makes the game a bit easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then maybe just finally then on point changes for. Have you got any idea?
Yeah, yours is more learnings for next season. Now, shall I go for like
Yeah.
changes that we? Okay, so
Yeah.
this is the obvious one that everyone talks about. Make CDMs great again. Champions League uses ball recoveries. Like, why can't FPL? Like, honestly, why? It can't be that difficult to just have 1 point for every 3 balls recovered. Like, it just makes no sense. They can't do that. Just and it's not gonna. And people say like FPL is good because it's so simple, but like that's not making it more difficult.
No,
is it? It just makes like Rice a good pick.
Yeah,
like for Christ's sake, like it's not making it hard or difficult. It just makes the more players in the game more viable to pick.
Definitely.
And how can that be a bad thing?
No, it can't.
Yeah, and it would make centre backs better picks as well, because it's not a scenario where the defenses are all on the same price and they're all nailed on. There's zero incentive to pick a centre back over like a left back or right back who are probably going to get forward and possibly get attacking returns. So that would help centre backs as well. And then also just like I've got don't hide a fucking chip until mid-season. Whose bright idea was this? Question mark. Stop doing that. And then erase leak culture. It's so dumb.
Sure.
People hide leaks behind paywalls now. And it's just mental when you think about it. So if you cannot move the deadline even further from the official team weeks, like 2 hours, 3 hours, something like that, that probably seems too much, then you make the deadline kickoff time. It's that simple.
Yeah.
But obviously, for some reason, FPL coding is just so, I don't know, like 16th century that they can't do that.
I know.
Yeah, so there's very simple ways to get around these things of league culture, and it just needs to go away.
Yeah,
it needs to go away.
The Champions League fantasy just alleviates any team leak, because if they just make it the first fixture, then you've got leaks, or you can use the team sheet for fixture 1, and that's just the way it is. That would like level the playing field there. No, I think that should be implemented as well, to be honest. I think just make it
like with Champions League, you don't get like team leaks for like the day afterwards or something. It's just for the first kickoff. That's the deadline.
It's almost like a chip. It's almost like a chip. It's like the power because you've just done something. Yeah, I agree properly with the deadline. And then the only other one I thought which might be quite good would be differential ownership points, just for on point scoring. So I think it'd be good if there was a mechanic whereby, I mean, these are such nice pie in the sky ideas, but I think they're good. Another way to make other players more viable. But if a differential, let's say, is less than 10 or 5% ownership, any action they do gets an additional point because they're low owned. It would like help you, like you said about defenders over wing backs. So let's say for every player you pick that's less than 10 or 5%, extra point for the clean sheet, extra point for the assist, extra point for the goal. I think that would give some help to, let's say, a striker from, let's say, like Delap, when he's starting the season. He's had like a decent season, really, but he's probably never had the ownership that he deserves because there's always been better strikers in better teams. But he had 132 points, which isn't bad, and 14 returns. If those 14 returns had like an extra 14 points attached to them, it would make him a decent pick, and he's 3.3%. So I think something like that, just to get other players in play, just another way of doing things. Yeah,
people will make the argument as it'll make it too difficult.
I know. What to build? You mean?
Well, no, it'll just make the game more complicated, basically. For like casuals will just be like, "Oh, what the hell is this?" And
I think just like, more ways to earn points should be fun.
Yeah,
because it just gives you like another thing to think about.
Yeah.
And then finally, unless you've got any more on point changes, it's just I just put down some learnings from next season, which I thought I'd maybe just like revisit in pre-season when I'm picking my team. So I wrote these down during the season of things I want to make sure I apply next season. So no double attack unless double game week, and I think that was really shown up in the last weeks of this season, where 2 examples in my team, Murphy and Isak and Sarr and Mateta. So I had a look to see how well the double attack did in the non-double game weeks, to see if there were like double returns where these players did really well. So of the 10 games where I had double attack in my team, only 2 of those 10 both picks returned. So there's only Murphy and Isak did it once, I think, and Sarr Mateta did it once as well. So yeah, I think it's a really tricky balance, because there's obviously a lot of reliance on a team in a single game week to do well. So my note on this is no double attack unless it's double game week, and then also how quickly you can pivot away from that double attack. The same as the above really for double defense. I don't know why in hindsight, really, even though White got a point, that I thought like White was like a good upside pick for the last game week, because it was double. And I think it's maybe different because Man City players did well towards the end of the season, but generally I think picking a double defense is really tricky. My experience with it this season was every time I had 4 times this season where I played a double defense, and none of those times the double clean sheet came in a single game week. So yeah, that was definitely like a learning for me, which I think is different. And
I mean, if Liverpool played 3 relegated team or promoted teams in a row, you wouldn't go double attack.
I just don't think, because then you just think about the extra transfer to like get that player in and out again. I don't know. It just makes me, when I look at those numbers, for me, like personally, 2 of 10 games, the double attack afterwards didn't come in single game weeks. It just feels like that, Murphy or Isak, Sarr and Mateta were hanging around in my team, and I didn't have the transfers to take them out. And yeah, they were good for the double, but were they even that good for the double? Because Sarr and Mateta weren't necessarily, they didn't like hog the points. Murphy and Isak, Isak wasn't great in that double game week. Murphy was. It's just a note to say, try and avoid the double attack and double offense for me anyway next season. And then no expensive keeper was my other learning. So perhaps it's the wrong time to select Raya. Maybe that's why it's given me like the bad voodoo on this. But game weeks 30 to 38, which is when I bought him, and at that point they still had a double game week. They still had a chance, although it was small, of winning the league. But between 30 and 38, he was the 12th highest scoring goalkeeper. And I got rid of Pickford for him, who outscored him by 18 points and ended the season being the highest scoring goalkeeper. So I feel like I was a bit blinded by that double and Arsenal's defence. And I think I'd rather, like I did at the start of the season, have a goalkeeper who might occasionally haul a 10-11 pointer than one that's going to bobble on getting no saves, 2-2-2, and maybe get a 6 every now and then.
Yeah, just don't pick for Bruggen.
Yeah, not
Simple.
for Bruggen. Not for Bruggen.
So bad.
Yeah. Do you think you've got any learnings from this season? We need to work out how to have a good start. That's the main thing we need to do.
Yeah, same as always. Just be better.
Yeah. that was quite short.
Yeah, just what you said, really.
Yeah.
To be honest. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Biblical, for your nice comment in the chat. That's really good. If anyone watching hasn't already, please like and subscribe. So we're planning to do probably a few more different types of video next season. I've been doing some shorts. I'm probably going to continue doing those because they seem to be going quite well. I might be doing more videos on team selection and initial transfer plans as well. And I don't know if you're going to be joining me yet. We're going to talk about it over the summer. But yeah, we'll do more content next season and just see if we can build the channel back up again. So we just want to say thanks for everyone for tuning in this season and doing these live streams with us. They're good fun. I like doing a live stream on the fly. I think it works really well. So yeah, looking forward to doing more of these next season too.
Yep. Thanks all.
Nice and succinct there.
Yeah, there's not very much else to say. Yeah.
No, okay. All right. Well, we might be back doing Club World Cup. If not, we'll be doing it on Twitter and Blue Sky. And then I think that the fixtures get released early June and the game may be out early July. So I know it's not going to be long until we're back again.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. Thanks everyone in the chat for all the messages, and we'll be back later this summer. Stay tuned to find out when. Right, over and out.
Yeah, thanks all.
Bye bye.